introduction before we get started on the heavy stuff. So my name is Penny Scott. I used to work for Terrain for 17 years, so I've been heavily embedded in that natural resource management field for quite a long time, and worked with Lisa during that time as well, with all the fantastic work that they do down there in the Mulgrove catchment. For last few, and in that role, I was Terrain was contracted to develop the statewide indicators framework in 2018 by the state government. So we did that in collaboration with all the regional natural resource management organisations, the 12 across Queensland, and also in collaboration, strong collaboration with the Queensland government. So I said yesterday, and I think, Lee, this is true, it's been a bit like having a child. There have been some very fantastic moments. There have been some tricky times, a bit of misbehaving here and there in this framework. There's also been, quite a few challenges and learning experiences, and we've been on that journey all together. Lee and I feel like that it's a bit of a teenager now, so it's gaining some independence and it's got some life skills, but still needs a little bit of guidance and still gets naughty now and then and does the wrong things. So, but we are really hoping that we are through the worst of the framework rearing. So I will hand over to Lee to introduce himself. Oh, just to say, I am currently contracted to NRM Regions Queensland to provide the ongoing development and support for the statewide indicators framework and the associated methods and tools. Lee, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Penny. Hi, Lee Blacklock. I think I know most people. I do work for NRMRQ 3 days a week, I guess, on the SWIF and the development of the apps and the data side. And I roll that data up to a statewide product and dashboards, and we'll go through that soon. I think yesterday I worked out I've been in the spatial industry 47 years, so a long time. But I'll be here a while longer, hopefully. So thank you, Penny.
Donna, do you want to go around and open up the opportunity for you and your team?
Thanks, Penny. So I'm Donna Robinson. Some of you I do know, some I haven't met before. So I work for the department in the team that administers the NRP program. I'm the team leader of the delivery team, which includes the regional liaison officers, and I'm based in Toowoomba. Like Lee and Penny, I've been involved in this space for over 15 years. I have to admit that now that you have, Lee, as well. So I've been around for a while. I think this SWIF thing is an amazing thing. So I will pass over to Deb to introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Deb Rogers. I'm based here on the Sunshine Coast and I'm one of the regional liaison officers, and I'm going to have the pleasure of working with Healthy Land and Water, you see Cape Yorkon and Katie Muller from BCCA. I'm very excited. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. Kate, I'll pass to you.
Hi, Kate Cumming. I'm another of the regional liaison officers. I'm based in Cairns. I think I've been an RLO for almost every group, but moving forward, I'm working with Noosa, with Jamie, and Greening Australia, so with Lisa. I think that's all. And I've worked pretty closely with Jules just recently on a lot of this stuff as well. So yeah, thank you and welcome.
Thanks, Kate. Serena.
Oh. Hi, everyone. I'm Serena Vanderveld. I'm also a regional liaison officer. Hopefully, I'll be around a little bit longer to work with some of you, but that's to be seen.
Thanks, Serena. Serena is on secondment to us until Friday, but we are hoping for longer.
I feel like we're losing you and getting you back and losing you and getting you back a lot, Serena. Oh, fingers crossed you stay with us. Yeah. Thank you very much, Donna and the team. And as I said before, and I'll probably say it a few times in this presentation, this whole process has been such a strong partnership and collaboration with the government. I think it's been unprecedented, the level of openness and collaboration and sharing that we've had with the department, which has been just fantastic and makes this a much better product and process. So I'll go around my screen and get each of you to introduce yourselves to the rest. Jamie, got you first.
I'm Jamie Knight. I'm with Noosa and District Land Care. Been here since 2019. I got the enviable job of actually implementing the Keeping It in Kin project. So all of the foundational hard work had been done, and then I came along and I get to do all the fun on the ground stuff. So we've worked our way up from some relatively small chunks of local government funding and some other smaller funding arrangements until we collaborated with Healthy Land and Water and the department, NRRP, and now I'm just really grateful to have somebody like Kate around to take care of me, because I'm still kind of on a very steep learning curve as far as all of this goes. Yeah, but I'm having lots of fun and we're getting lots of work done, so that's what's important.
Fantastic, and we just want to make sure we tell the most amazing story about all that fantastic work, Jamie. That's our goal, and you're lucky to have Kate. That's true. Well, you'd be lucky to have any of them.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Vanessa, hello.
Hi everyone. Yeah, my name is Vanessa Smulders. I work with Healthy Land and Water. I'm part of the Sustainable Ag team, and yeah, I was involved in the last round of NRRP doing lots of LCATs. So yeah, looking forward to hearing more about that today, and the SWIF framework in general, and yeah, doing more LCATs and VegCats in the future.
Thanks, Vanessa. And you'll have heard a bit of this before. And if you want to know about grass,
I love talking about grass, looking for lots of opportunities to talk more about grass. So
and knowledgeable about grass. Katie. Oh, do we have you, Katie? Thanks. Katie, are you there? Katie Muller? I'll go to Lisa because we don't seem to be able to hear you. So I'll pop to Lisa first. Come back. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Penny. Nice to see you. Hi, everybody. Lovely to see all your faces. So I'm Lisa O'Mara and I work for Greening Australia. I'm based in the Gordonvale office, south of Cairns. And I've been with Greening Australia for 6 years now, doing lots of different projects. I'm pretty excited to say I just came back from another different project doing a soft engineering bank stabilisation on the Mulgrave River in a tidal area, which is very exciting. And yeah, we work very closely with the Mulgrave Land Care and Catchment Group, and to the south of us, the Majangi Aboriginal Corporation, especially for this project. And we have another, where I'm based in Gordonvale, the Doolabed Rangers, and we're hoping to get, forge a stronger relationship with them during this project.
Thank you, Lisa. Katie, have we got you now?
I don't know, does that work?
I can hear you. I can't see you.
Yeah, that's all right. Our internet's not great here in Monto. Yeah, Katie Muller and Melinda Clark with Burnett Catchment Care Association. Yeah, based here in Monto. We were involved last year in delivering our NRRP project. Yeah, so I'd do it again. Thanks.
Fantastic. Renee.
Hi everybody, nice to see some familiar faces and fresh faces, but coming from Healthy Land and Water as part of the Sustainable Ag team, I'll be the project manager for the Natural Resource Recovery Program this year in the regional recovery part of it. So we'll be focusing on some land condition, veg condition, and some knowledge and skills, and lots of veg cats and L cats to come. So looking forward to it.
Hey, Renee, we never got to see your face. Do you like to see familiar faces and new faces? Do you dare turn your camera on?
The back lighting's not that fantastic here, so Sorry
Are
if
you
it
gorgeous?
goes all dark.
No, it's
Hopefully.
all- Jules, you're next on my screen.
Next on the hit list, yeah, Jules Fennell, NQ Dry Tropics. So as Penny said, I've been there. I started at NQ Dry Tropics in 2018, which coincided with the start of all the consultation for the SWIF and everything. So yeah, I noticed we haven't used the fruit salad analogy for a while, Penny.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll have to dredge that back up. But sorry, I got a scratchy throat. Yeah, so oh, sorry. Through the RCE funding, I've been doing various things to try and enhance use of the SWIF and MERI capacity more broadly, not only in our organisation, but across all of the organisations. So yeah, a bit later I might talk about the SWIF tool.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, nice to see everyone.
Thanks, Jules. Chelsea.
Hello, I'm Chelsea from Healthy Land and Water as well, so down in southeast Queensland. Been at Healthy Land and Water for just over 2 years now, and I've worked to deliver the NLP, and now that we've got RDP has landed, and I'll probably be part of the RCS and RCE capacity building services as well. So yeah, thanks for having me here.
All our acronyms.
Yeah, that's the list. Gonna need an acronym spreadsheet at the end of this.
Thanks, Chelsea. Jessie.
There we go. Yeah, g'day, Jesse Watson and Jacob Gack here from Desert Channels, Queensland, based in Longreach. We are both rookies at this group, at this role. We're both NRM project managers, officers, sorry. Yeah, looking forward to learning some more and getting more understanding.
Cool. Jessie, what did you say? What is your colleague's name? Because I can't see that on the screen.
Jacob Gack.
Jacob.
Yeah.
Jacob what?
Gack. G-A-C-K.
Gack, like Jack Gack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Perfect. Oh, Marie, hello.
Hey Penny, hi guys. I'm Marie Coulson with Cape York Natural Resource Management. I'm a project officer here. I've been here since about February this year I started, so still learning the ropes, but getting there. I've done a few LCATs and VegCats now, which is fun. And I'll be looking after our RCE project, and with Serena, I'm still finishing up our previous NRRP project.
And Marie's heard a bit about this. I was up in Cooktown a month or so ago. It was really great fun.
Yeah.
Gabriella, you're here again.
We see each other every day now.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, folks. I'm Gabriella Schuster. I'm from Healthy Land and Water as well. I have previously worked on the previous round of NRRP RCE, and I'll be managing it for the current round. And also we plan to use SWIF for our regional delivery partnerships projects, which I'm also managing in that space. So look forward to this meeting today. Hello, everybody. I see a lot of familiar faces out there. Deb, a few others. Nice to see you all.
Thank you so much. Healthy Land and Water, you're really dominating today. So that's really wonderful. I'm going to jump straight into the heavy PowerPointy bit now, and hopefully if you have any questions, just raise your hand, and I'm going to be asking Donna to adjudicate that because I only have one screen and will only be able to see my own PowerPoint when I share my screen. But I guess I will, before I pop into the PowerPoint, I'll say this whole thing started way back in 2017 when the state government contracted out a review of the previous 10 years of their natural resources investment. And they wanted the reviewers, which was alluvium, you're probably all quite familiar with alluvium, they wanted them to find out exactly what the last 10 years of investment had achieved, what difference it had made. I think there was a very long report coming out of that, Donna, if I recall, but the simple answer was, well, we don't know, we can't tell, because there isn't sufficient data. There is some data, but it's not consistent and it's a bit all over the place. Lots of data about what people did, but not so much about whether or not what they did made a difference. So I guess the department determined that they did not want to be in that situation at the end of the next program, which was the NRIP, Natural Resources Investment Program. So in discussions with the natural resource management organisations at the time, we set about figuring out how to be able to tell a story about the impact of the investment. Right, so now I'll go to my PowerPoint. Oh, I have to share my screen. Oh no, I have to do this. Sorry. Oh, technology. Can you all see the green screen? Okay. So I'm going to go through the why, what, and how of the framework, and then we're going to hand over to Lee to show it, so to do some show and tell of some of the lovely tools, and who doesn't love a bit of GIS smartness in all of this. So as I said, we were trying to solve the problem of that we were unable to verify, report, or communicate the difference that our projects were making on the landscape, and the government wanted clarity on the impact of their investment. And it's fair to say that probably for the previous 10 years, amongst the NRM regional organisations, the regional bodies, we've been having this conversation about how the hell do we tell a good story about all of this stuff, because the government is often pushing us into reporting the widgets, the numbers of people, the numbers of workshops, but we really wanted to elevate our story to the difference we were making. But, you know, you get stuck between a rock and a hard place because you want to do that, but you get no funding for it and nobody wants to know it. And it costs money and time and effort to build a system which works across the whole state. So we were really in a bit of a bind. So the vision of the shared vision between the department and the NRM regional organisations was to be able to tell a Queensland story that was consistent, credible and compelling. The 3 C's, I often refer to them as my 3 C's. It's important though, we try to point out that in developing the statewide indicators framework, we were very clear on purpose. It was about trying to communicate the story of specific investment areas. So areas which had received investment, what was happening inside those areas, what change had happened between the beginning and the end of the project, for example. It's not state of the environment or catchment condition reporting, although some of the data that we collect could contribute towards that. It was not set to be a research endeavour. It's not pure science. It's not ecological monitoring. It is about gathering a sufficient amount of data to indicate the general trajectory of a natural asset which has received program investment. So it was very, very focused on that aim. So in order to do this, we knew that it had to be good enough. The data that came out of this system had to be good enough to provide a credible indication of trajectory, but it also had to be easy enough to be implemented by project teams, and it had to be cost effective enough to be affordable within project budgets, because you're not wanting to spend 50% of your project budget on monitoring what the other 50% achieved. But it also, all of the tools and systems within the framework needed to be flexible enough to be applicable across the whole state and also across multiple investment programs. So not just necessarily the state government investment, but the aim was to be able to make it in such a way that it could be used for RDP or for land restoration fund investments. So these were all quite important criteria that helped to form the framework as it is. We were very, very clear from the beginning that it needed to be fit for purpose. Oh, here we go. I added, after some time, I added a fourth C. We needed it to be cost effective. Let's move on. So that's all very well. The why is quite clear, but what is it? A lot of people think it's LCAT or VegCat, but the actual framework itself is a little bit more comprehensive than that. And it is a set of components that work together to underpin the way we collectively across the state monitor the outcomes of what we do, but also monitor the jobs that we do, the deliverables that we do for the investment program. It does contain a suite of methods and tools for data collection and analysis, but they are not the sum of the framework. So there are 5 critical components to the Statewide Indicators framework, and each one of them is essential for us to be able to tell the great story. It's a bit like a 5-legged table, perhaps without one leg, the coffee, it's a bit wobbly and the coffee falls off. So the first one is really important. If we're going to tell a story about the impact of our program, we need to agree at the beginning what the story is that we would like to tell. So we needed to collectively agree on what success looked like at the end of the investment program. So this related to NRIP, the original NRIP logic, but that logic has been adapted over time, and the way the system is set up, you can bolt on new outcomes. If you have other investment programs, you can just bolt on a new outcome. The logic defines success, and all of the tools that we use relate back to this definition of success that we have. So the logic that we built has a number of features. It was built from the regions up. So we went out, Lee and I went out to all the regions and said, well, what does success look like for you, for your project? Describe it to me. You know, slip forward 5 years, in 5 years' time, and tell me what's different out there. And it was quite funny, because when we first started this process, everybody said, oh, you're never going to be able to come up with consistent outcomes because we're all so different. But in the end, there was a lot of similarity in the work we did, and we were able to come up with a number of simple core outcomes that seem to house all of the projects that that were in place under the NRIP. We kept it really, really, really simple, because I think everybody's seen mad program logics with boxes everywhere and arrows all over the place and everything's connected. And we know that it's complex and we know that everything's connected. But if we start off with that and try to monitor the complexity, we won't get off first base. So we kept it very simple and acknowledged that this doesn't incorporate all the complexity. But if we can start to be able to tell a very good story about some of these simple things, then we can build on that in the future. The other important thing about our logic, the third important thing, is that it makes a very clear distinction between outcomes and deliverables. So you will be familiar, having applied for an NRRP3 funding round, you'll be familiar with the NRRP logic, and you'll see there are land outcomes, such as soil health, land condition improved, where the condition of native vegetation has improved, the extent of native vegetation has improved. And then there's a red line, and underneath that, there are the things that you are contracted to actually do: threat mitigation, revegetation, supporting improved practices. We are very clear about the distinction between the deliverables under the red line, the things that we are contracted to do, and the outcomes above the red line, which describe the response we hope to see in our landscape because of what we did. Now, we monitor at both of those levels, at the deliverables levels and the outcomes levels, and that will become evident as we move through this presentation. There's also non-land outcomes around people and communities. So this is around our landholders, our traditional owners, our partners. Similarly, with the land outcomes, we also distinguish between deliverables, the things that we're contracted to do, and outcomes, the response we hope to see from our landholders, partners, and traditional owners because of what we did. So as a clear example, below the red line, we might run a whole lot of landholder workshops, and we'll fill in our app about the workshop, how many people came, how many landholders, etc., what topics were covered. We may even do a post-workshop evaluation. How did you find the workshop? Was it good? Did you enjoy it? How were the sandwiches? But what we require from the statewide indicators framework is an understanding of whether anything changed because of those contracted deliverables that we did. So, yeah, sure, the landholders...
Penny?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's Jules.
Yeah.
I came across an example of the other day that one of the project staff, Jamie, gave to me that might help people understand too, the difference between outcome and deliverables. So when you're ready, I might share that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Do you want to share your screen or just talk through it, Jules?
Oh, happy to just talk through it. Because we were trying to explain it, because the project staff that have had something to do with SWIF get it, but we're trying to explain it to someone else.
Great. I'll do my sentence here and I'll hand to you. Is it specifically about people and communities, Jules, or
no,
generally? Okay.
About outcomes and deliverables.
Okay, so I'll just finish my sentence here and then I'll hand over to Jules for another method of explaining. So for the people and communities side, what we do require is to understand whether or not the things we did made a difference. So what we want to know above the red line with regard to outcomes is, if landholders, for example, have acquired new skills and knowledge, did they actually apply them? Did they change things that they did as a result of the investment that we've had? So those things will become clearer as we work with you individually one-on-one. So Jules, why don't you go ahead now and provide that explanation?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I thought this example was sort of brought up by someone else, and I thought it was a really good example.
Sorry, and I can't see the hand, so I don't know if you've got your hand up because I can only see my screen.
I knew you could only see it, so that's why I interrupted verbally, so apologies. Yeah, so we were trying to explain this to someone who hasn't had anything to do with it and works in a different context. And basically, it was Jamie, who you know, Penny, came up with the example that if you go to the doctor and the doctor says you have high blood pressure and you need to get your blood pressure down. Now, I want you to do these things to get your blood pressure down. I want you to eat less salt. I want you to exercise 30 minutes a day. I want you to take this supplement twice a day and whatever. And I want you to keep a record of doing those things. I want you to keep a diary that says, I did my exercise, I took my supplements. So you know that by taking your supplements and doing your exercise, that will hopefully reduce your blood pressure, but you won't know that. So think of the taking your supplements and doing your exercise like the deliverables. Okay, so that's the things you're doing to try and get the outcome, but it doesn't tell you that you did get the outcome. And you're not going to know until you go back to the doctors, say in 6 months' time, and have a blood pressure test, whether you actually successfully reduced your blood pressure or not. And that's where your monitoring comes in, because your monitoring tells you, did I reduce my blood pressure or not? So I just thought it was a good sort of a bit out of the box example of what's a deliverable, you know, doing all the right things versus the outcome, actually reducing your blood pressure. So yeah, hopefully that helps.
I think that's really, really helpful, Jules. Absolutely. And with all of the logic that's embedded into our projects, we make assumptions. And often our work is based on informed assumption. You know, we assume, but we have evidence and knowledge to assume that changing practices will lead to an improvement in the condition of the land condition. Sure, we reckon that's the case. But if we continue to do those things and never check in with our blood pressure or our land condition, we're not quite sure whether or not our assumptions are correct and whether or not the things that we are doing are working. Anybody have any questions around the distinctions between outcomes and deliverables? For some of you, it will be really obvious because you've been running projects for years. But Lee and I are constantly surprised at how often we have to have this conversation. Makes sense? Super. Thanks, Jules. That was really helpful. Right, on to, sorry, I've just got to reshare my screen. All right, so that was all to do with the logic and getting the logic in your project really right, being very, very clear about what you're doing below the red line and why you're doing it above the red line in a particular piece of land is really, really important for the flow on of the rest of the framework. And most often in projects, you will be doing different things in different places for different outcomes. And that's completely fine. And you make that distinction through your mapping. You map things, you map your different project sites according to the outcome you're trying to achieve and what you're trying to do there. So you can be doing more than one thing in a project, providing that you are able to make that clear through your mapping. Okay, the second thing is the data collection methods. Once we know what it is that we're trying to achieve above the red line, we can then figure out what are the attributes that we want to measure in order to be able to prove that we have achieved that thing, or if we haven't, figure out why. So this is what people are mostly familiar with, all the cats, LCAT, VegCat, WetCat, and we've got a fire cat coming on, and possibly a stream bank cat. The methods that we wanted to choose to use under the framework needed to be credible enough to be trusted. They needed to be easy enough to be used by project teams. They needed to be cost effective enough to be affordable by projects. They needed to be flexible enough to be applied across the whole state. So it's no point having a method that works in rainforest and doesn't work in other vegetation types. But importantly, the methods needed to be sensitive enough to pick up short-term changes. So it was no point having a condition monitoring method that would only pick changes up over a 10 to 15 year time frame, because we really want to be able to say stuff about some of the lead indicators, the early signs that we see of improvement in the time frames of our programs. So we've got our logic, which describes success and the outcomes and deliverables. We've got our methods, which we've agreed we will all use to track whether we are successful or not. And the third thing we've got is our smart tools. So this is where it gets really fun and where Lee comes in. We have built a geo database for the mapping, but also Survey 123 apps for all the cats that we have. And we've done this to try and make it easier for regions, but for project delivery agents. So whenever you see regions, by the way, I'm just going to say this right now, wherever you see something like smart tools for regions, that means smart tools for each of you, for each project delivery agent. I have to go through and change this. This used to only refer to regional interim organisations, but of course in the last couple of rounds, the programs have been opened up to other organisations like your land care groups, Greening Australia, etc. So wherever you see regions, read me. So smart tools for you to make it easy to collect the data, but also having consistent tools across all of the project delivery agents means that we avoid inadvertent errors and changes in things, so that when it all gets added up, it's still consistent. That's one of our C's, isn't it? Consistent. A really important feature of this system is that it uses an ArcGIS online platform, so everybody has it. We haven't built our own apps or software, but the important thing is that the data stays with you, the organisation that collects it. You have the data, you own the data stays with you, it does not go anywhere else, you don't lose it. So it makes this, the tools make the most of, we've made the most of existing tools where they exist. And we also have tools, we have smart tools for both tracking your outcomes above the red line, like VegCat, WetCat, etc. But we also have tools for tracking your deliverables, like threat mitigation, revegetation, practice change. So all of the aspects of the logic have a tool for you to collect your data in. So there we go. As I said, we've got a geo database here, which is the mapping platform. We have the Survey 123 apps for both outcomes and deliverables, and we have some very smart Python script, which I'll tell you about in a minute. So the fourth component of the framework is the statewide data analysis, and this is where the scripts come in. So we've contracted Esri to build smart Python script. I suppose all Python script is smart in a way. And what it does is automate the analysis of the results that come through from your tools. So it averages out the scores for all of your VegCat records within a polygon, for example, and it even compares the scores from your baseline year to your most recent year and tells you how much change has occurred. So the Python script is really great because it removes the burden of having to take all of that raw data that's fed through your Survey 123 app and then having to download it into spreadsheets and set up calculations. It does all of that stuff for you. And then it spits out a CSV or several CSVs that you send to Lee. So the good thing about this is everybody's got the same script, which analyzes data from the same tools. It spits out the same format CSV or Excel files. You send those to Lee and he can just add them all together. You still keep the data in the region, but you send him the summary data that goes up to the statewide level and populates the statewide dashboards, etc. So that's the fifth component of the framework, and that is the communication aspect of it. We know what success looks like. We've got our methods, we've used our tools, we've analysed our data at the statewide level, and then we need to communicate it effectively and in a sexy way so that the story is told. So for that component, the communication products, we have a couple of things. We have the potential to produce report cards for the state government department on the outcomes of their programs, but we also have dashboards which are constantly being updated with the data that comes from each of the delivery partners, so that at any point in time, the department or anybody else for that matter can go and have a look and see what's been delivered to date through this program. So here's just a bit of a screenshot of the dashboards, and Lee will talk you through these a little bit later. I think it's really worth pointing out that the first job, the job that we were tasked to do in the beginning was, could you please produce a report card for the program? So we started off this job of, we have to produce a report card for the program. We have to produce a communication product that tells the story of what the program has achieved. We had to work backwards all the way back to the logic in order to end up at this point where we were able to produce a report card for the Natural Resources Investment Program. It was the first time, as far as I know, that we've ever in the natural resources sector in Queensland been able to produce a report card on the stats of what was achieved and what was done that has data to back it up consistently collected across the whole state. Simple one-pager. It was backed up by a range of other one-pagers specific to each of the outcomes in the logic, with just a little bit more information, a few stories and some stats. So there are the 5 critical components of the statewide indicators framework. just as a little wrap up to this bit of the conversation, I just wanted to reiterate a few things that make the SWIF a little bit special and a little bit different to the monitoring frameworks that have been and are being developed elsewhere or at other times. One, as I mentioned, it's been a great collaboration between the department and regional NRM organisations in its development. Because the regional bodies themselves were the ones who designed it and developed it and collaborated on its structure and how it worked, there is a level of regional commitment to the use of the framework. Critically, the data stays in the region, and I can't tell you how much of a deal breaker that is, because we've all experienced situations where we've fed data into a statewide or national database and it disappears somewhere, and then at some point in time the whole database disappears and we just don't know what even happened to the information. We don't have it to use for our own long-term analyses and storytelling. We tried to keep this framework really simple. We tried to purposefully avoid complexity and just focus on telling a great story as simply as possible and then build on that over time. Once again, we made it very flexible so that we can adapt it for other programs as needed, so it's modular, so we can bolt on other outcomes. We're currently looking at bolting on an outcome with regard to threatened species breeding outcomes. The other key characteristics, as I said, is that it's mainstream software. We have used out-of-the-box systems, so everybody uses ArcGIS, and it's going nowhere. So it's important, I guess, that we've used existing products because we don't need that ongoing investment in their maintenance. That's being done by somebody else. I just wanted to stop for a moment and check in with people to see if anybody has any questions or comments. Am I going too slowly? Donna, do you think am I overworking it? What are people?
I don't know if you could go any faster, Penny, but how much of the presentation is left? I can't remember.
Not so much. We'll be done in 10 minutes, but I wanted to give everybody the chance. Does anybody have, is anything confusing? No, does it make sense? All right.
Actually,
Gabriella, yes.
No, I think this is it does make sense. I appreciate your presentation of the SWIF material. The one question I have, which I don't know if you'll be able to answer or not, but is the fact that, so this works obviously very well for the statewide projects for NRRP, and and it aligns perfectly with that, but we do intend to use it for our Commonwealth projects as well. And I'm just curious because there is obviously some competition there with Commonwealth having their own tools that they're wanting people to start using, and I'm just wondering if there's a plan to just have discussions around that or try to marry the two in some way, because there is a very strong push from the Commonwealth to have use of their tools in place.
Gabriella, this is a really, really great question. Ever since we knew that the Commonwealth government had started a process of building condition monitoring tools, let's say, or project outcome or project monitoring, impact monitoring tools, we've been having conversations with them right from the very beginning. We've been on working groups, haven't we, Jules? We have been having conversations around possibilities for alignment. And I have to say, I was very, very excited because the statewide indicators framework is completely flexible. Nothing is in stone. So if we've got VegCat right now, which is helping us to assess the condition of vegetation and whether it's changing as a result of our projects. But I'm more than happy to switch it out with a better method. If someone's got a better method, I'm all in for it. The most important thing across the state is that we agree that we're going to switch from this method to this one, and then we adapt the smart tools and the analysis systems accordingly. But unfortunately, the new EMSA protocols are not fit for purpose for us. They are not cost effective, and they don't actually tell us anything at this point in time. And we are still working closely with them to figure out how to get alignment. Lee's been working in the back end to figure out how to get data from some of the EMSA modules and then back end it into some of our systems so that we can calibrate between the stuff you put into EMSA and the stuff we get from SWIF. So, Gabriella, we're doing our best. What a lot of regional organisations have done is negotiate with the Commonwealth to do one or maybe two of their very large, very costly and complex plots. For example, the condition module, but to supplement that with some additional lower cost, quicker VegCats, for example, so that they've got a bit of a mix. So you still can get some condition score out of it because you can't at the moment get a score out of their condition module. There is no scoring system. So they get their science and we collectively get our impact result. One of the reasons that in this PowerPoint, I make it really clear that this is not a science endeavour. Our purpose is very clear. Our purpose is to report on the impact of investment in a particular area. It is not ecological monitoring. We've made that really, really clear. The reason we have done that is because the Commonwealth system is trying to do both with the same tools, and it's lent very heavily towards the science endeavour and less towards something that's fit for purpose for program reporting. So we're in a bit of a tricky position at the moment, Gabriella, but the framework itself is completely flexible and modular in nature, and we can definitely build it and expand it and calibrate across methods if necessary to incorporate other sources of data. So does that answer your question, Gabriella? We're working hard on it.
Yeah, thanks.
Sorry, Penny.
I'm glad to see there's some discussions going on. That's good. That's great.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in there for a sec. Just a bit of a heads up to everyone. If you're familiar with the Monitor app that EMSA will be using, what you may or may not realise about it is that as soon as you come into range, your data's gone. So it automatically uploads into their database. So there is no point at which you kind of go, okay, I've checked it and I'm ready for it to go now. It goes straight into their database. What we haven't been able to establish is the data privacy around that data. Who gets to see it, in what context, and we haven't had assurance from the government yet that it will not be used for regulatory purposes. So that will affect your potential to enter into agreements with your landholders because they can't provide informed consent about providing the data from their property because we don't have the information to allow them to have informed consent. So just a little heads up, I did suggest to Ashley Liebman the other day, who's in charge of the EMSA stuff, that maybe he could look at sort of unpacking the modules back into indicators, and therefore you could pick a constellation of indicators that were appropriate to whatever it is you're monitoring, rather than having to use it pre-packaged in a module like they have it. And he seemed, well, it piqued his interest, put it that way. I wouldn't hold out a great deal of hope, but you never know.
Actually shows interest to a lot of things. Yes.
Thank you, Jules. And that's a great thing that you've pointed out. Yeah, because it's not just, it's significant for landholders and also for First Nations partners who are very conscious of their IP.
Yeah, so we've been working to resolve it. Richard Ingram just emailed me, coincidentally. But yes, please be aware that the data privacy stuff hasn't been fully sorted out yet. So just something to be aware of.
And the other thing that Lee's been working hard with them on, and I'll come to Kate in a second, the other thing that Lee's been working really hard with them on is how do you get your data back on? And you don't get any result. There's no scoring. There's no figuring out whether it's bad or good. It doesn't do that. It just there's nothing coming back. So how do you get your data back out of the system so that you can actually use it to say something sensible? At the moment, all of that is still a little bit unclear. Lee, do you have anything to add before I go to Kate? Kate?
No, that's pretty. They didn't even think about photography, the photos you take. Their answer was they'll give you a CSV file, which will have the data, but not photography, and everyone needs the photos. So I think there's a few things they haven't quite thought properly through yet.
Kate, had your hand up.
I just wanted to clarify that this discussion relates to groups or people who are working with Australian government funded projects, just to be clear. So for any new groups or new staff on board that aren't involved with that, this conversation is around the Australian government's requirements to do monitoring and evaluation.
And that's for their RDP program, not all of the Commonwealth governments. I note that the Reef Trust has a program-wide exemption to use an exemption from using their own tools. So interestingly, if you're doing stuff for Reef Trust for the Australian government, you don't have to use the EMSA protocols. Marie.
Hey, yeah, sorry, I just wanted to add, we have for most of our RDPs, we have exemptions from EMSA as well, because it's Cape York and they don't quite function up here as well. But I was curious, do we have anything, we're in the process of creating data sharing agreements for our TOs. Is there anything that we have in writing around, or does anybody have anything in writing around the data privacy that does exist around EMSA? Because we are required to share, to do some elements of EMSA. What that is, we're not really sure yet. Yeah, I just wondered what we've got that might be documented that I could incorporate into our current data sharing agreements.
I would actually really like this to be taken offline because it's eating into our. Sorry, Marie, I don't.
That's fine. Yep.
But we can get,
you
contact Jules.
Yep, I can give it to you.
Thank you, Jules.
Sorry, Marie, to cut you off. I just, as Kate noted, that there's lots of people on this call who don't have any relationship whatsoever with EMSA. Yeah. Sorry, Marie. All right. I'm going to continue. I'm just going to run you quickly through a little bit of a, well, this is sort of how it works for you as a funded organisation in reality, before I hand over to Lee to show you some of the tools. So is anybody seeing my green screen? No, not yet. There we are. Green screen?
Yep, you can see that.
Thank you. So click on there. So essentially, you've got a project, you're a project manager, project officer, you figured out what your outcome is and what your deliverable is and where on the ground you're hoping to make a difference. So the process is you map your project and you code it according to the logic. So if it's a land condition, if in that spot of land you're doing a practice change for a land condition outcome, you map the area that you hope to see change in, land condition change in, code it to land condition and code it to practice change. If it's an area where you're hoping to do increase in the extent of vegetation, you code it to vegetation extent above the red line and to revegetation below the red line. So you will do that in the standardized geo database that comes with the SWIF package for your organization. And that geo database, Lee, will show you it's got standard attributes and drop down lists. And that's helping us in the consistency side of things, because if we all have different databases with different headings and different descriptions of these things, there's no way we can add everything up. Okay, so you've mapped your project. Then you go out in the field and you use your Survey 123 apps to collect your data. Now that could be data below the red line on your deliverables. For example, you might be doing revegetation, so you would use the Reveg app and then you would submit the re-veg app, or it could be that you're collecting data above the red line around the condition of vegetation, in which case you would be using the VegCat app. So the app that you're using depends on whether you're which of your outcomes you're working towards and which of the deliverables you're actually doing. You submit your data, and then when you get back to the office, you do a bit of quality assurance of your data. I've added that little bit in because it's really important that you've got some confidence that your data is correct. Then it gets submitted into your regional database, or in the case of Noosa Landcare, it'll be your Noosa Landcare database. Then you apply the script, the Python script that Lee provides you, that's part of this package, and it does some analysis. It combines the mapping and all the app data, and it gives you some results. And those results are fed back into your database as CSVs or Excel sheets. But you also send those CSVs or Excel sheets to Lee at the statewide level, and everybody sends him the same thing. He compiles it all into a statewide database, and then he populates the dashboards, and at points in time we generate report cards for the department. If you were really smart, then you at the project delivery level, at your organisation's level, would also populate some dashboards or generate some reports. And we provide you with the Power BI dashboards if you want to use them. And there are various different reports embedded into the Survey 123 apps that Lee will show you. So essentially, a field officer maps his or her project, goes out into the field, enters data. After doing some quality assurance, he or she submits the data, and it's sent on a largely automated journey all the way up to the statewide report. So just quickly, these are the things that you get. You get a project mapping geodatabase, and in mapping your project, you are describing the what you're doing, i.e. the deliverables, where you're doing it, i.e. the mapped polygon, and why you're doing it, i.e. the outcome. The second thing you get then is your Survey 123 apps that you collect the data within the field, apps for both your outcomes like VegCat and for your deliverables such as revegetation or threat mitigation. So apps for the whys and apps for the whats. You will also get the Python script that your GIS person or whoever is the person going to be running your GIS system runs. And at least every 6 months when you're going to do reporting, you run the script on your geodatabase and it will generate a beautiful CSV with all your summary data, and Lee will show you that in a second. It's also a good idea to have a bit of a web map so people can view and quality assure their data. Lee can help with that. And if you really want to, he can give you a dashboard, a regional dashboard or an organisational dashboard that is driven by the scripts that you generate from your analysis. And Lee will show you those as well. So just in summary, before I hand over to Lee, you got your mapping and coding through a geodatabase that provides you with an understanding of your project, what, where, and why. You've got deliverables apps below the red line that generate widgets and numbers about what you did. And then you've got the outcomes, methods, and apps above the red line that provide data on any change that's occurred as a result of your project or to which your project has contributed. And it's this data that then drives the dashboards. So I guess what we're really trying to say is that we had this vision at the beginning that we would be able to tell a Queensland story that was consistent, credible, and compelling. And it's not a vision any longer, it's a reality. We have the system and it works. And we have already demonstrated the proof of concept under the NRIP. But Shitty data is worse than no data at all. So it really requires all of the organisations involved in collecting data under this program to have some commitment and discipline, commitment to doing a good job, and the discipline to just checking the data and making sure that it's okay. I guess it comes down to pride, having pride in the work you're doing and in the quality of the information that you provide to demonstrate the difference you've made. So a closer look at the mapping, data collection, quality assurance and visualization tools. Before we head to Lee, does anybody have any questions at this point in time? There's something in the chat. No. Anybody have any questions at all? Concerns? Over to you, Lee.
Thanks, Penny. Okay, I'll just share my screen.
Sorry, just Lee, before you start, does anybody need a 5-minute stand up, stretch your legs, go to the toilet, grab a glass of water? Do we need to just have a short, we did this yesterday, just had a 5-minute, Lee, do you think we should do that?
Yep, we can do that. Sure.
Let's have a 5-minute breather, because I think then we'll all be concentrating better. So we'll reconvene at 10 past 2.
Thanks, Tammy.
Okay, thanks, Penny. Okay, so this is basically a package. All these folders are a package of data you will get, the GIS person. And in there, there'll be, well, we're just developing a new app, but won't worry about that at the moment. There's some images that basically make your apps the same. You can see them quite clearly. I'll show you that in a sec. We've got improved grazing practices, people and communities. We've got the project location geodatabase in there. That's a template, just empty. All the scripts that you'll need are basically in this folder, the Python scripts, revegetation app, stream bank gully, threat mitigation, VegCat and WetCat. So they're the ones that we have available. LCAT itself is the only app that I managed. I managed the data in there. That was under a stipulation from DAF. It's a very complicated database with a lot of tables, and they requested just one organisation manage that. So I have a contract with them that I'll manage it, but I don't do anything with the data. The data is yours. Usually the way I put data ownership is the land manager or owner is the one who owns the data. The organisations who capture the data are doing it as a custodian, and they help manage that data for the owner. But it goes no further than yourself and the owner. Okay, so that's basically what data is available, what folders and information. Within that, I'll go back into our ArcGIS. So this is ArcPro. All non-for-profit organisations can get ArcPro for about $275. So everyone's got that ability. Now the actual software normally costs around $25,000, but because we're non-for-profits, we get a really good deal through Esri. So the format. So this is basically a standard format of the geodatabase. I'll just move the little pictures out the way there. So we have a program ID. So in there, it's either NREP, NRP1, NRP2, or now we've got NRP3. A landholder ID and the project ID, they're assigned by yourselves. So different organisations, some requested we had a landholder ID, some wanted a project ID. So accommodating both, we put those in, but they're allocated by yourself. The polygon ID is probably the most important field in Orbit, and this is a unique identifier for each of the polygons. So it's got to be unique enough to not be duplicated anywhere, and there are some that are not very unique, but we'll work on those ones when they come in. We have our, Penny mentioned the deliverables. So this is where you populate that, your organisation, your outcomes. Some have a secondary outcome, only if there's a sediment.
No longer.
Yeah, okay. We'll skip that one. We have an area. The area is generated through the GIS system in the datum's GDA 2020. So I can help anybody if they're unsure on that. We have a few new GIS people starting in this program. So I'm here to help with any questions you might have. There's another field. Sorry, Penny.
Before you get into that public point, Lisa, you've got your hand up. I just wanted to get in that question before we get too further along.
Sure.
Yeah, it's just in regard to landholder privacy. And is there at any point where the full name of the landholder is anywhere?
No,
required?
not through anything that I have.
Right, that's great. Thank you.
I don't. Yep. Some people have put in the data, like a landholder ID, they might put Smith and the property name or something. I'd suggest not doing that, because that people can locate that. But sort of coding like NRP and something that's you can associate with. That's all we're really after, something that'll be unique.
I guess the thing, Lisa, is that if you want to use a landholder ID, whatever you want to use, you can do whatever you like. We disregard that field. We never use it because it's for your use only. So it never appears anywhere in any of the products that we generate. So yeah, it goes, even if you put the landholder's name in there, it would go no further than Lee, and then it's just disregarded because we're not interested. But some people put it in their database for their own records. We take no notice of it. It's not of interest to us. Jamie, did you have a question?
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just wondering about, because I developed like my own little, I guess you could say, naming conventions for a lot of my properties, land types, and things like that. Is there any? I mean, I was talking to Lee about it last week about some of the don'ts and the do's about coding and stuff like that. But is there any currently, I guess, broadly accepted naming conventions that would be consistent across all the organisations, or this is just purely an individual organisation's way of just identifying their own project sites?
Yeah, well, Jules, maybe she might talk to that a bit later in the standards, the standard process that she's developed and the tool that's in development. But I didn't want to be too prescriptive as such, because we're dealing with not just organisations doing NRP projects, but there's a whole range of other sort of things you can apply with this, and I just tried to keep it as open as I could without prescription.
Having your own entity's naming convention is excellent, and that's your business, and we're not interested. Doing it your way is fantastic. And these fields are completely open for you to use your naming conventions in. And you can pre-populate your naming conventions in this geodatabase from the back end if you'd like to, with the project IDs. Of course, if you've got 10 projects and various different spatial units you might have one project with 5 different polygons. You can pre-populate the project ID columnly, I think, can't you, with any of his naming convention project ID, so that you can just then select it. But those fields are really for your use in whichever way you would like to do it. It's the same with the polygon ID.
Yeah, if people working with a geodatabase, you can use that polygon ID as a linking the unique identifier. So if you have a funding stream or something and you want it to work within your organization, you can link it through that ID or any of those if you wanted to. But yeah, this is the key, and we just don't want spaces in there. No spaces in the Polygon ID. Okay. Yeah.
And
we have a latitude and a longitude field. Now that is so I can, when I'm going to publish these geodatabase or publish the data, I want to create a point. And that point is basically I'm giving each organization the ability to tell me where they want that point generated. So it might not be actually in the on top of the polygon where the project is. It might be at the local hall, as long as it's not too far away. But it's not to. There might be sensitive information in there. We don't want people being able to locate necessarily the properties if people don't want to know exactly where they are. So I ask people to give me a lat and long, and I will generate the details of that project at that point. I'll show you a bit more on that in a minute. Also, we have a project start and a project finish date. So that was a request by a couple of organisations who wanted to use the database beyond NRP projects for their own projects that start maybe 6 months or whatever they might last. So that was another requirement. Any organisation can build on top of this, so you can start adding your own fields if you wished. You see I've got a couple in there. You can add fields as long as you don't touch the ones in the front. That's where the Python script accesses and needs to know those fields. So yeah, by all means build upon it, but don't modify it, please.
Yeah, don't modify the front columns. But
okay, yep. So what happens is you'll send me in a copy of your geodatabase where all the polygons are, and I'll add them or append them all together to get a statewide outcome or a statewide coverage. You'll notice here it says there's 1,014 polygons over this latest round, which includes the NRIP, NRP1 and NRP2. So if I was to zoom in there, you can get an idea. There's the polygons themselves. I then generate points from this, and I've got that's what the points look like when I generate them at that latitude and longitude. So some of them are on the area, some of them aren't. It just depends. Now you will publish your own apps, and that would be depending on the project, but they'll be the threat mitigation or the revegetation, and that you will populate those, and I will get you to run scripts on that. That will give me those CSV files that you mentioned. When you put all this data together, it could look something like this. We've got VegCat, we've got LCat. So you end up getting data on top of data. Now, Penny mentioned before that it's really good to, I suppose, quality assure your data. And there's nothing wrong with each organisation building their own web map. Now, I built one of these yesterday, and I'll just show you what that looks like. So what you see there, that's Arc Pro. So not every organisation will have all their staff using Arc Pro, but what the organisation might do, publish a web map and have everybody could have access to a map like this. So what it would show would be your polygons. You could show your revegetation data, threat mitigation, your VegCat data, and your LCat data.
Woo!
So that's any organisation can do this with the tools they will have now in an ArcGIS Online account and Arc Pro to be able to publish it. So you might be out in the field, you can come in, send your data to ArcGIS Online, back at the office, and zoom in to an area to make sure that the points you've captured, let's see, I'll find an area here. There's some there, but say that one. So what LCAT data is there? So we can make sure that these points fall within that polygon. The script themselves, what they do is a join, a spatial join. So when I run the Python code, it looks at the polygon and it'll look at all the points that intersect that polygon and then create an outcome for me or an output. And that's what I roll up. So you've got to make sure that when you're out in the field, the data that you've captured sits over the top of where you actually captured it. And if not, then the tools within ArcPro will let you actually move those points and manipulate them. Okay, so that's that basic data. If I go up to survey 1, 2, 3, everyone will have a certain amount of apps. So if you publish them yourselves, you will get access to them. Survey 1, 2, 3 has the ability to capture data as a program on your laptop, but also in phones or tablets. So once you publish the app and share it to your organization, this will show up on screen. So you'll be able to actually, it'll look something.
Yeah, this is what you see on your device, Lee.
This is exactly what you'd see on your device. So you'll see threat mitigation or VegCat, if you've got that, improved grazing practices, revegetation, yeah, all those. So that's where you can add data. So you can either add it in the field, or if it's too hot, some people find devices don't work very well in the heat, you can record the data on old-fashioned pencil and paper and come into the office and input the data live on your laptop. Obviously, if you're out in the field and you can do it on the device, it's a lot easier, really, to people.
It looks like a lot of forms there on Lee's system because he's got various versions when he's having to be editing things. But you will only have one copy. You should only have one copy of each of the apps: WetCat, LCAT, VegCat, and the ones for below the red line. That's correct, isn't it, Lee? You won't have VegCat version 4, VegCat version 1.
No, yeah, just bear in mind that I'm developing these all the time, and yes, modifying things. You'll time to time you'll get there'll be an update occasionally, but we'll have a group session on a telco and we'll explain and show people, step people through how you do that. Okay, so that's survey 1, 2, 3 basically. The beauty about survey 1, 2, 3 will be probably the product you can print out. So if I went to, for instance, let's see, I'm just picking one. Let's do a VegCat. So if I went into VegCat, it'll bring up in the data area a map and all the records that I've captured.
Oops.
And we've been everywhere. I captured a few over in WA a while ago. Okay, if I zoomed into an area and select a record, over on the right-hand side, all the details of that record show up. I can pan down and it'll give me all the information I captured. It'll also give me the photos, if any were captured in there as well. And looks like there probably will be some in here down the bottom.
Cool.
But what else? I'll select a different one just as interest. You can go over to report. Now I might do a VegCat summary report. Let's see, I will scroll down and I want to do a PDF document on that. I've just got to move Penny's window over there. I'll do a preview sample report. Yeah, I know it's that little window that the meeting has.
Yeah, you can just click me away.
Oh, I don't want to do that, Penny.
Do it, Lee.
Okay, I'll minimize you. How's that? Okay, so it's generating the report. It doesn't take too long to create. As you see, it's creating there. It'll summarize all this information. It's converting it to a PDF. Over here, it's downloaded it, and there it is there. So it gives you a bit of a map of where you are. It'll also give me the details.
Sorry? Up, Lee. Go up, please. On the first page, there's your summary VegCat score. So you've got your score there, supposedly on the first page, by the way, already.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So it's 7 out of 100, it's 72. So we scroll further down and you get more details about the shop cover and everything you've captured. The really good part about the template and producing this report is you can give it to the property owner.
And you should have photos.
Yeah, they'll probably be, there might not be any associated with this because it was just some test
done the other
stuff.
report.
But I could go back to LCAT. We have templates for LCAT. And
the other record you picked in VegCat had photos in it.
Yeah, okay.
Doesn't matter.
No, it's okay. I'll leave it at that. There's the on
the report, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a whole lot of stuff here, but yeah. So it's a good little output you can do. Something when you come back and print it out and send it to the property owner. So they get something, I suppose, from your visit.
Had a question.
I just one comment, and it was just because we touched on it in yesterday's session, the difference between when you selected that sample report versus the credits. The credits is one that will come at some sort of a, even though small fee, but will be incremental and get up there over time, which was, I think, why you're suggesting click on the sample report. You still get all the same information. It just has that watermark of whatever it says, draft on it or something. But that's the way to get the report for free.
You're right, Kate. Yeah, fair statement. So yes, and the way ArcGIS Online works is that for $200 you get 1,000 credits. Now to print that report, it used to cost 3 credits, so it wasn't ever a lot, but it was something. But if you go, and I'll just do that process again. So if you go to report, now it's a short template. I'll scroll down. I'll do a PDF. If you click in the preview sample report, that's free. So these days credits, I think it's about half a credit per report, but this sample report is free. You just get that watermark across the front of it.
Just scroll down a little bit, Lee, below the generating sample report. So rather than click the generate button, that one, click the sample report. Because if you click the generate button, that's the one that costs credits. Yeah?
Yes, it does. That's only, well, I could click on here and it'll calculate the credit, and it'll only be 1 credit required. Credits required half a credit. So half of whatever that is not a lot.
It's like 10 cents.
10 cents. Now this is LCAT, a short report from LCAT, and that's some pretty good information in there to give to the property owner, I think. There's what Penny mentioned, the photos, they come up as well, and the results. So we have a short template and a long template, depending on the detail you want to actually keep. Yeah. Any questions on that? by anybody. I think it was pretty quick, but I think we've got the basics there. I'm available for support for anybody at any time, nearly any time.
Flash up the dashboard, Lee.
The dashboard, of course. Okay, so we have not that one. I'll go across to this one. Okay, so we have a statewide dashboard.
Maybe skip, because that one's new and relevant to these guys.
We are developing these all the time and modifying them. So, Penny, do you want to talk to it? And I'll click through them.
We really wanted a smart visualization tool that we could use rather than, yes, that could be updated easily. So we developed a dashboard in Power BI, and anybody who has Microsoft Office has Power BI as part of that. So anybody is welcome to have the project delivery agent version of this dashboard. This is the statewide dashboard, which basically summarizes the whole project, the whole program's the area of the whole program. One of the things that Lee was going to mention earlier was that when he does the intercept of the points with the polygon layer and generates a statewide geodatabase, he also adds in the local authority and the state electorate, so that on this statewide system, the RLOs or anyone else can sort according to the state electorate. If they want to be able to provide a report to an MP or someone that wants to know what's going on in my area of Cook. So this is very helpful for them because they're being asked all the time to provide information on the programs. So this includes all the programs. If they just want to know about NRRP, well, not much happening in Burnett, but that'll change. If you go to the program tab to the left, you can also select according to NRRP1, NRRP2. The geodatabase also has RDP and other programs in there that you can select, but this dashboard is more specific to the state government investment. There's another, this is a general summary of the what, where and why of all the projects. The next page shows some stats about the deliverables. So what we know to date under these programs is that 108,556 trees have been planted. So the next time anyone says, oh, what was achieved in your programs, here it is, 1,015 kilometres of fencing. You can go up to the program and filter for that as well, Lee, if you go up to the top left. So if we want to know what was NRRP and what was NRIP, we can select those things in the program area there. Cool. So there are other pages then which now take us above the red line, because the deliverables is below the red line. There's pages then that take us above the red line and talk about the extent to which these programs have delivered improvement in vegetation condition, land condition and wetlands condition. So across the state, we can see that of the 204,511 hectares which were coded to vegetation improvement, monitoring is occurring on 201,099. 135,377 hectares have shown positive change. 15,506 have shown no change. There's 42,748 that show a negative change, and 7,467 only have baseline information, so they don't have a follow-up. When you get this dashboard, if you want it as a delivery partner, you will also see this information, and you might be interested for your, and you'll only see it for your data. You might be interested in knowing what's going on with that 42,748. There's a bit of negative happening in there. there could be a range of reasons why things have gone backwards. It could be because there was a massive wildfire that went through. It could be because your intervention, in fact, didn't work. It made things worse, or it could have been user error in the apps. So this is the opportunity also to do a bit of QA and make sure that where you see a negative change, it really means that there was a negative change, and you can investigate and explain to the investor the reason behind that negative change. So these are the dashboards, and this is the sort of the value of having the data. You know, there's an area there in the red which is showing, you know, it's almost 200 hectares, and it's showing -31. We don't know actually why that's the case. We don't know if it's because of a wildfire or a flood, or the cattle got in, the fence was broken down and the cattle got in and messed it up, or if it was somebody pushing the wrong button on LCAT or not submitting a record, etc. So there we go. That's the dashboards. Yeah, cool.
We have the regional one, Penny.
Yes. So this is the one that's available for you guys if you want it, and it only gets fed with your data, so you can only see your results. And it mimics the statewide one. So it's got your deliverables in there. If you want to be reporting to your investors or reporting to your community or reporting to your board, this is your information. It's also got the VegCat site, so very similar to the one we saw, except there's a bit of a difference in the regional or in the local scale dashboard. It gives you a lot more detail about your actual polygon, which are the polygons in which you're seeing the negative scores, so that you can go back to your data and have a look and see what on earth was going on there. And you'll see an example here where polygon number W002A, in 2020, when you did the baseline, the natural recruitment, condition of the natural recruitment got a score of 6 out of 10. That's not bad. But then when you did your follow-up in 2022, you got a score of 0. What happened there? Did something disastrous happen, or did somebody just mess up in the app? So this is where you would just be going back into your data and having a look to make sure that it wasn't a user error. So these are some of the QA quality assurance tools that are available if you want them. And there you've got even all the plot data. So you've got polygon data and plot data, the whole lot. Anyway, without going into too much detail, because you just need to sit and play or be stepped through the detail of this if you're interested in the dashboard. But yeah, that's probably enough on that, Lee, isn't it? Go to the L. So. Yeah. Yes. Good. All right. Any questions on all of that? Because I wanted to make sure I saved 5 or 10 minutes for Jules to talk through some of her stuff, but wanted to just touch base with everybody. It's been quite a load of stuff that you've sat through for the last couple of hours. Any questions? Gabriella?
Yeah, hi. I don't know if you were going to touch on this anyway, but I just wanted to double check with the skills and knowledge type surveys with the people and communities. The questions that you have in the booklet, when you do the surveys, you need to use exactly the questions that are in there. That's correct, isn't it? In order to be able to analyze that data.
I always said you could be slightly flexible in the way you ask the question, but I want the result to be consistent. So, for example, there's a question in there about satisfaction. And you're going to ask whoever you're asking to give a score of between 0 and 10 or 1 and 10 for how satisfied they are with the way this project has been delivered. Now, I don't mind if you say, oh, how happy are you with the way we've been working with you on this project over the past 3 to 4 years. I don't mind if you say that. I don't mind if you say, what do you reckon your level of satisfaction is about this project? I don't really mind the exactly way you frame the question, because these questions can be brought forward in more of a conversational manner. So, you know, it's not like, to what extent do you feel you are satisfied? But it's about the area of inquiry. So making sure that you're inquiring about that particular thing, and that you generate a score on a scale of 1 to 10.
Mhm.
So there's about four questions only, and if you embed those into an existing survey, that's also completely fine. But what we don't want you to do is to suddenly change things around, because if you say, which of the following were you satisfied with, and you list all of these things, I can't use that information. So I have an example of a fabulous amount of data that I got in the last reporting period from an organisation that does a very comprehensive survey of its landholders, and I can't use a single one of those questions I could have used, because although they've tried to align it, they've sort of modified it in a way that's made it actually impossible for me to add it up with everything else, which is such a shame, because it's really, you know, extremely valuable information. So if you're doing a survey, when you design your follow-up surveys with landholders, and this isn't a survey about a workshop, did you like the workshop, and, you know, which aspect and what did you learn? It's about whether or not, as a result of you working with the landholder, anything has changed, and whether they feel that they benefited above the red line. When you're designing your surveys or modifying an existing survey that you all already use, just give me a buzz and cross-check before you go ahead that, you know, is this going to work? Have we changed things a bit too much here, or, you know, is this wording okay? And then I can say, yep, that's great, go ahead, knock yourselves out. So I'm really happy if people would like to touch base with me. And a couple of organisations did. Dawson Catchment came, and we talked a lot about their survey. So yeah, we really, particularly when the programs are investing in capacity building or training initiatives, we don't want to just know that it happened. We want to know whether it was effective and whether anything has changed in the hearts, minds and practices of the landholders as a result. Because the government has been investing in these things for years and was getting a bit annoyed because they didn't know whether it worked. So they stopped wanting to invest in them, which is why the NRIP had very little in the way of people and community stuff. We've got a bit more investment for people and community stuff happening now, which is good because we all know that's important. But the onus is on us to be able to demonstrate the value of that investment and how it does make a difference. Because if we don't do that, the cycle will happen and they'll stop funding it again. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Before I hand over to Jules, I'll just say that I'm really keen to talk to each individual organisation about a time that Lee and I could come out and visit and just sit down with you and go through your project and answer any specific questions about how this relates to your project and what you're doing. Have a bit of a discussion about the mapping, because really the hairy bits on this system come to the surface when we sit down and talk about real projects and how it works with a real project. And that's the time when people will go, oh yeah, but how would you do that? How would you map that? What would, you know? So I think next week, Lisa, we're already talking to you guys, and we'll organise a time to come down to Gordonvale when you've got people on board. I'm really looking forward to that. We can do some VegCat training. I can't do LCAT training. And we're also hoping to have a session where maybe we could bring together the Noosa and the Burnett guys together. Maybe we can do it somewhere in the middle, maybe Bundaberg or somewhere like that, if you're able to travel, that we can come together and have a good one-on-one or one-on-two, that would be, session there as well. So we'll talk to you in the next weeks about whether that's good for you and what timing might work for you, Jamie and Jessie. So yeah, not Jessie, Katie and Melinda, isn't that right? Cool. We would love to get out to Longreach, by the way, but we will see when we can manage that. If there's no other questions, just someone was dropping out of the chat. No other questions. I'd just like to hand over to Jules for the last few minutes to give you a little bit of a quick overview of the work she's been doing on some sort of decision support tools around this. Go for it, Jules.
Thanks, Penny. Yeah, I won't do the video because I don't know that it's going to be that helpful at this point, but it's really just to say, so because all the mapping and what we call the coding of the polygons, how you label them with an outcome and all of those things is based in ARC, we're coming up with an ARC-based process, and it's using what's called the tasks function in ARC. And basically what it is it allows you to prescribe a process that makes it very simple for the user. So you go in and you start your task and it'll come up with a screen and it'll say, do this. So, you know, and there's some instructions there. You go in and you do that thing, you press next, and it tells you what to do next. Okay, you know, draw this or put this in or label this. Next. And it just literally just takes you through a series of steps that steps you through how to map and code your polygons that aligns it with the SWIF. So you don't have to sort of think about it too much. It will guide you the whole way, and there'll be instructions and explanations of, you know, why we're coding it this way or why we're doing that kind of thing. It does come with a default polygon labeling system that you can override with your own organizations if you choose, or you can use the default. And it goes through a series of steps and it tells you like which monitoring tool you'll need to use, how many sites for that monitoring, how many plots you should have for that monitoring tool based on the hectares of your polygon, how to divide up your polygons, because it's actually important not to just put a polygon there and go, oh, okay, I'm just going to assume it's all the same thing. If there's different vegetation types, different starting condition, that'll all affect your monitoring. So it deals with all of that. So yeah, it's in the works at the moment. Have a fingers crossed we can get it done by the end of the year or very close to that. I'll have to have a talk to Penny Lee in the department about how we deal with delivering, about mapping deliverables now and working that into the process. So yeah, stay tuned on that front, but there will be a tool out there that will help with the mapping. That really all just follow the bouncing ball, follow the steps as they're written, and you can't go too far wrong. So the other thing that I really wanted to make people aware of is that there is actually a SWIF resources page, and if you don't mind, I'll just share my, well, see if I can share my screen because I'm on my Surface, which gets a bit dodgy. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Yep, cool. Sorry, like Penny, I can only see what I'm presenting. I can't see anyone. So there is a SWIF resources page. So this is on the NRM Regions Queensland website. And there's a specific section there about SWIF and with SWIF resources. So that's really good to know about because you can go there and get, you know, the VegCat information, LCAT info, all of that. Down the bottom of that page, you'll see that there's monitoring guidelines, presentations on representativeness and robustness, and an outcomes polygon presentation as well, and the SWIF decision tool version 5. I would really recommend that you have a look at that SWIF decision tool document, because even though the tool isn't live yet, it really looks at a lot of the concepts and everything behind it, which will help you in sort of understanding how you have to map and why you have to do it that way, etc. And the outcome polygons presentation goes with that. So I'd recommend watching, like reading that and watching that. The other stuff is around good quality monitoring. So again, I would encourage you to have a look at it. It's not specifically about the SWIF, but everything in it does apply to the SWIF. And there's 2 short presentations that go with that as well. So yeah, I just wanted to draw your attention to those resources. So Penny, you're on mute.
Can you just share your screen again and scroll up to the top of that web page, because then they'll be able to see it in context. And this will change soon. It'll be restructured so that it's not so ugly.
Oh, I'm so glad someone else said it.
You go up
because
to
I can't stand it.
I know, it's terrible. So this is the NRM Regions Queensland website under the SWIF, and in there you will find a whole lot of, you'll find actual formal SWIF 101 videos, which is like what I stepped you through, except just a bit more logical or a bit less all over the place. Plus you'll find information and videos from Lee on the GIS systems, but it is going to be restructured so that all of that stuff will be in more logical folders and will look a lot better. But anything you really want to know, there's a whole lot of stuff in there about LCAT. My God, if you'd like to read the volumes of 100 plus pages on LCAT, it's so comprehensive.
Make Rob very happy.
The VegCat guide, etc., is on there. I can and do provide training on VegCat. Rob does and can provide training on LCAT, although it's harder to pin him down. And WetCat belongs to the Queensland Wetlands Program, so you can organise training for WetCat through them. Let us know if you need any of that. As I said, we're developing a FireCat. I just met with Lisa Felderhoff today again, and it's looking really great. And that is really a tool which is trying to place a value on improving the fire regimes in broader landscapes, you know, big landscape areas where you're trying to mitigate the damaging impacts of massive wildfires. And a lot of projects out west in particular are doing work on this, so that's really exciting. And we're also working on a possible stream bank app, which is Stream Bank Cat. But we had a few funny names for that one, Jules, didn't we? Spank, Spank Cat. What else was there? I can't remember now.
Well, because Soil Cat was going to be Gritty Kitty, and Wet Cat was Soggy Moggy, and there was another cat one in there too. But yes,
we had a lot of fun with the cats. But what we've recognised is that since some time is that the stream bank work that the NREP funded, because NRRP doesn't fund stream bank work or doesn't fund water quality outcomes, the NREP did. So any stream bank work that happened under NREP was only reflected from a reef water quality perspective. So if you wanted to do some great stream bank work in the Gulf because you actually cared about the stream bank, not the reef, there was no way of being able to assign any value or an outcome to that. So we've been looking at the piggybacking on the use of TRARC, the tropical, what is it? Tropical riparian and something or other method. God, the name has disappeared from me. The RARC or the TRARC, if you want the tropical version, which looks at the quality and integrity of the stream bank itself, including incursions and areas where it's cutting in and log jams and all those sorts of things. That's not my area of expertise whatsoever. So we're really looking at the possibility of a condition assessment tool, which is actually about the integrity of your stream banks. VegCat does not really work because it's actually about vegetation. It's actually about the quality of the habitat as opposed to the integrity of the stream banks. So just keep your ears and eyes open for any of those if you're interested. So it continues to evolve. Jules, did you have anything else to add? Thanks so much for that.
Oh, no, not that I can think of. I would definitely encourage you to go and read particularly that SWIFT tool document and the associated presentation, because it really was intended to concentrate on some of the concepts behind doing the mapping and setting up. So hopefully, in a way that makes sense to people. Yeah,
Anything
but
from your yep, cool. Anything from your end, Lee?
No, all good, Penny. Yep.
Donna, anything from your end? I'm just going to go around and just check in with people. Gabriella, did you have any other questions or anything
Nope.
you were? Lisa?
I'm good for now, thanks.
Thanks. Lisa, is it all
Um, yeah, I think that was a really good background to everything. Yeah, and it'll be good to see how it goes going forward. But I thought that was a really good, overall wholesome background to it. Thank you.
Yeah, and it'll start making much more sense when we come to you and say, oh, what's your project about? Where is it? What's it? Yeah, I think then it will make a lot more, it'll sort of consolidate. And also, the use of Jules's guide. Jamie, how are you feeling down there in Noosa? Or wherever you are.
You're on mute, Jamie.
Sorry.
Yeah, not used to many Teams meetings. No, I am in Noosa Shire, so yeah, I live near where I'm getting all the works done. It's good to get a lot more background on where all of this has grown out of. It certainly makes the bigger picture a lot, a lot better for me, and definitely looking forward to having one-on-one and asking you some nitty gritty questions on some of the details that have tripped me up in the last 12 months. So just keep us updated, and I'll do whatever I can to make it where I need to go so that we can meet up.
Oh, good. I mean, is somewhere like Bundaberg not too bad for you?
Oh, it's it's not too far up the road, and I hear they make a pretty decent rum up that way, so I should be able to justify making the trip.
Because I'll ask the same thing of Katie. If Katie's still with us, yes, she is. We're just trying to find somewhere central, and sometimes we've had very good success with cross-regional get-togethers as well, in particular cross-regional training in things like VegCat, etc. It's been really effective. People have really loved the opportunity to share as well. So, Chelsea, any questions on your part?
No, thanks. Yeah, it was good for the background information, and I've just recently had the field apps training with Mel Walker and whatnot. So yeah, it's good to see what's continuously unfolding in this space.
And we'll definitely be trying to get to Healthy Land and Water, Lee, won't we? In the next that's easy because it's Brisbane. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah,
that'll be great.
Jesse and Jacob, any questions or?
No, everything seems to be all good at the moment. Well, we might not bunnies around the corner, but we'll see how it goes.
Try and get there. Katie?
Yeah, so that was all okay. Yeah, I'll look forward to catching up one-on-one so I can talk specifically about our project, and yeah, that'll be fine. Bundaberg's not the greatest, it's the easiest logistically to get to thanks to roadworks. So
it's not the easiest?
No, it's our main roads.
If you've got a suggestion of another place that's easier that would also be easy for Noosa, you just let us know what would work for you. Just flick a message through.
Yep, will do.
One reason that Bundaberg is easy is because we can get a free venue from BMRG and visit them at the same time, but we will fit in with you guys to make it absolutely doable for you. Kate had a question, and then I wanted to just swing back to Donna for any final points.
It was just a quick comment, Jesse, and for the Cape York staff, Penny and Lee, the plan would be to go up to Atherton. Is that right? You wouldn't be expected to go to Bundaberg, if that was your understanding, Jesse. I'm not sure if I heard you right about
channels. There's a channel.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm getting red shirts mixed up. Sorry. Yeah. Long range.
Yeah, our shirt's normally internal's blue, but yeah. Goldie's only 10 hours away from here, but if another venue works for other places, like Rocky's only 8 hours away, so it's much to a muchness, really.
We always love coming to Longreach, just to be honest.
Oh, it's better than living in the city.
Yeah.
I just moved here from Sunshine Coast, so yeah, definitely don't miss the traffic.
Kate, Marie's already reached out from Cape York and asked if I can come back up there and do another VegCat training because they'll have new staff, including some from the past, Kate, who's joining Cape York, who you miss dearly. There's Marie.
Yes, I know. It's all new staff. And yeah, apologies for confusing DCQ and Cape York all together. I've RLO'd for both of you for a long time, and I've all new faces.
I thought we'd lost you, Marie, but you're there.
No, I'm still here. Yeah.
Yeah, so we definitely are very, it's easy for me to whip up to Cooktown anytime.
Yeah, great. We'll talk about that. Yeah, we'll organise that. Yeah, and then I think at that same time, then we can go through the new RCE project that we've got.
Yeah, perfect. Donna, any final as the sort of the convener? Any final comments? We were only 5 minutes over today. That's pretty good.
I know, that's very good. Not really, Penny. Just want to thank everyone for taking time out. I know a lot of people already left the meeting because they had to do other things. But I just wanted to reiterate, if you have any questions and you can't get hold of Penny or Lee, then please contact your RLO. They will facilitate that with Penny and Lee. Thanks.
And this meeting has been recorded and will be at some stage, Johnny, you'll send it through to us and it will be uploaded onto the...
Yeah, so anyone who's attended the meeting, once it's downloaded, I think you should be able to access and read it, view it. But yes, we will send it to you, Penny, and take some bits out and maybe put it on the website.
Cool. Lovely. All right. Good. Thank you, everybody. And yeah, it's exciting. Onwards and upwards, 4 years.
Thank you as well.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Penny and Lee.